to lead.
You have to kind of work twice as hard.
All right, Happy New Year. Welcome to the year 2021. Surprise, right? I'm all maxed up. Well, it has to be this way. I told you going into 2021 that already on the face of Africa, on the continent of Africa, we have identified 3 variant strands of COVID-19, right? A different one in South Africa, a different one in Nigeria, a different one in Kenya, and we don't know how many more different variants we're still going to find. But the African Union has insisted that we continue to test until we find what is making this virus mutate so fast and transmit very fast, especially amongst young people. And then, to be honest, I have a flu, and I think I'm being responsible by safeguarding my wing woman and partner and co-host on this show, Stephanie, by simply wearing a face mask so she doesn't get the flu.
Hi, John. Happy New Year
Happy
to our
New
viewers.
Year.
And of course to you,
How do I
Mr.
look
John.
with my mask?
You look good, all the same.
Seriously?
Oh, yes, you do.
I was thinking I was beginning to look.
No.
it
The
feels a bit-
mask did add, some touch of elegance.
Whoa.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Maybe I should be wearing this every day.
Exactly.
So, how did you cross over?
Well, I did that at home. I had a virtual service, going from the warnings from the FCTA, capital city of Abuja, Nigeria, where, of course, we are resided here. We were not really encouraged to cluster together to have a crossover service. So I did the best I could. And I'm sure some other Nigerians did the same as well.
I did
Virtual
the same.
service.
I did the same. My little daughter was looking forward to going to church, watch the crossover in church, but I had to convince her we were going to do a virtual service at home, which we did. And I think it makes a whole
It
lot of
was
sense.
just as good as though you were there present.
Exactly. Had all the elements, all the effects. So,
Of course.
as long as you have people to worship with. And the beautiful thing about the God we serve, be it Allah, is the fact that He is not constricted by location.
That's right.
He's there with you everywhere you go. Okay? So, once again, Happy New Year. We hope that 2021 brings us a whole lot of success, fulfillment, and that it will be a fruitful year. Not just fruitful, but that the fruit will remain. And other subsequent years will continue to be years of fulfillment, prosperity, enlargement, growth, whatever it is you can imagine or whatever it is you wish yourself. So right here on The Conversation, we want to start 2021 on a very sound note. Now, there is an African proverb that says, for you to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. And we did give you a sneak peek as to what to expect on this edition of The Conversation. But before we begin to take that journey back or take a look back at where we're coming from, just as we try to do every day, Monday through to Friday, we want to bring you up to speed with some of the latest developments, especially here in Nigeria. Across Africa, it seems everybody is enjoying or still basking in the euphoria of the Yuletide going into the new year. So not much is happening across the continent, apart from the sad news of the fact that AU peacekeepers, of course, are on duty in the Central African Republic, trying to ensure that they are keeping the peace. Of course, the Central African Republic is one of those fragile nations in Africa that right now is drawing a whole lot of attention from the AU, the UN, and we're doing all we can collectively as Africans to ensure that peace remains in that country. Last Sunday, they did hold their elections, and of course, the opposition has said they are not too satisfied with the result and had initially called for postponement of that election, but the election still went ahead. and the results still not acceptable to all and sundry. But mostly, we will be giving you developments here in Nigeria. Mr. President did speak to the Nigerian citizenry this morning. Quite an interesting speech, about 18 minutes. Mr. President is known not to make not too long speeches. He goes almost straight to the point. I know he has made speeches of less than 10 minutes, about 7 minutes thereabout. So, but this New Year message was 18 minutes, and we won't be able to take all of it. But what's impressive is that we will look at some of the high points of what he said in the speech. But first, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Steph will let us into what's happening on the front pages of the national dailies in Nigeria. Do stay with us.
TOS TV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, and the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much you are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igbenegbu, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still The Conversation, and it's our New Year episode, a very special episode. And, well, we're here, your hosts as usual, myself, Stephanie Audier, and my wingman this time, Nkamyang John, looking good with the face mask, by the way. I'll say that again. Blowing your kisses. All right, then. So we did mention that we'll take you through the front page of the national dailies. Now, let's take a look at stories making the rounds. We start with the Nigerian Tribune. Big story here says, camels used to smuggle deadly weapons into Nigeria. Now, that's coming from the ACF, okay? There's a rider underneath that says ransom money being used to buy illegal arms. Now, we want to talk about insecurity in the country. We understand it's festive season, more reasons why Nigerians ought to be very, very careful and vigilant. And we did mention that the president put out an 18-minute speech, of course, addressing the country entirely. And we're sure that one of the issues he would likely talk about, the biggest on the table, will be insecurity. Okay, so we'll get to that part of the show where we let you in on what the president had to say to the entire nation. More stories on the Nigerian Tribune, the story at the very top of the newspaper. It says, 2020 tough, we will brave any storm in 2021. Of course, that's from Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari there. And right under that, he says security agencies to be reorganized and re-energized. I did mention that. All right, so let's take a look at all the stories on the Nigerian Tribune. And of course, to our very bottom, it says deliver on revenue targets or get sanctioned. Buhari wants MDAS, okay? And signs 2021 Budget Finance Act and to send borrowing plan to NAS. Now, he's still talking about
Borrowing.
Exactly. Talking about loans in the year 2021. Let's see how that looks for the country. Moving on, Sanwo-Olu signs 1.106 trillion naira 2020 appropriation bill into law. Lagos governor there. And finally, Gbajabiamila, governors, orders urge Nigerians to hope for a better 2021. All right, so I'm taking you through. Let's move on to our next newspaper, The Punch. Big story here, rising COVID-19 cases, and NUT cautions federal government against January 18th schools resumption date. NUT cautions federal government against January 18th schools resumption date. Looking at the riders underneath that story, it says that teachers will stay at home if infections increase, says Teachers Union, of course, and prepare for more COVID-19 patients in need of oxygen. Now, that's coming from the NMA to the federal government. So, most likely, as the cases of COVID-19 increases, the National Union of Teachers is saying, look, we can't go ahead to open schools right now. We must have to hold on until we see things get better eventually. What are your thoughts on this, John?
Well, I think it's a safe thing to do. I remember when schools were to reopen sometime last year in America, teachers were very skeptical about their safety and the health situation, having to be exposed to children, throughout the peak of the first wave of COVID-19. Now, in America, certain measures were put in place. Schools were asked to have school nurses. What do you call them? Sick bay was improved upon. They had to have certain essentials. And then certain things were put in place to ensure that the kids themselves are taught the basics in being able to maintain the protocols for COVID-19. In fact, in China, what they did was, as the children come to school, they take off the face masks they're wearing, they throw it into the trash can, they put on a fresh face mask, they wash their hands, hand sanitize, then they go through a cubicle that sanitizes them from head to toe. So I would rather suggest that the NUT should insist that state governments and the federal government should invest in putting in place systems that ensure that the children are helped to begin to appreciate and understand the need to consistently follow the COVID-19 protocols. That will make the school safer. In America, for instance, one of the major issues was the air conditioning system, where in most schools you had a central AC. But in Nigeria, of course, we know for public schools, the windows are open, so they may not be encountering some of the issues that their counterparts on the Western Hemisphere encountered. So every look and cranny, it's not just enough to insist on government not reopening the schools. There should be good enough reasons why the school shouldn't be reopened, so that when those areas are highlighted to government, government can now invest time, energy, and resources to put in the needed structures in place to ensure the safety of not just the children, but the teachers as well.
That's right. Moving on to other stories on The Punch. Okay, story at the very top of the newspaper. It says Buhari signs 2021 budget to unfold borrowing plans soon. And right under that, federal government will ensure speedy determination of corruption cases. Now, that's coming from the president. Moving on, camels now bring in grenades, anti-aircraft guns, others. That's coming from the ACF. And of course, last story from the very top there. Nigeria's debt profile rises to 32.2 trillion naira. Talking about borrowing.
Just before you go to it, I don't know why the ACF, the Arewa Consultative Forum, is making all the noise now. We've always known that the insurgents, militants, and all of them, weapons are dropped for them in Sambisa's forest at night. The question has always been, who are the who flies the helicopters that drop those weapons? Now they are claiming camels are bringing those in. Those camels have always been bringing weapons in. Why is it now they are raising an alarm about it? But again, it tells you how porous our borders, especially within the northern part of Nigeria, is. There are no clear-cut demarcations as to where those borders start and where they end. And because of that, it makes it easy for some of these militants, bandits, Islamic fundamentalists to sneak in weapons. Now, the one that interests me is the fact that they're using monies that they're getting from kidnapping as a means of acquiring weapons, then that is an area that should raise some concern. Now, if this government could easily freeze the account of people who protested peacefully, they should be able to trace the money. It has always been said, if you want to be able to deal with the issue of terrorism, follow the money.
You know, looking at this story, John, I always ask, it's not enough to figure out a problem, but what is your solution about the problem?
Exactly.
Pointing out that camels, rats, rabbits, and so on, smuggling weapons, you know, it's not enough. But being able to have access to such kind of information should also prompt response.
Exactly.
These are not ghosts. However, as you asked, John, human beings fly these choppers at night to deliver ammunitions. Whatever it is, they actually sneaked in. Now, as John said, in order for you to, you know, disband terrorists and, of course, terrorist organizations, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Get your hands on this and put a stop to terrorism in Nigeria.
It's been a question right from the inception of Boko Haram. The question has always been, who are those funding
That's right.
these groups? Certain individuals have been fingered. Nothing has been done. Quietly, silently, smartly, those persons, those people fingered have been swept under the carpet. And we have continued to see over the years that these groups, despite the fact that the military claims they are being depleted, they are still giving our military a fight. And if at some point in time the military confessed that they were using more superior weapons than what the Nigerian military had. And people began to wonder, how is that possible? How is that possible? Of course, this administration will tell you that they have also suffered some setbacks in acquiring state-of-the-art weaponry to be able to fight insurgency, Boko Haram, and terrorism across the country, which is quite true because the Western world, the Western Hemisphere has continued to block avenues in which the Nigerian government has tried to acquire state-of-the-art weaponry. And one of the reasons why the likes of America has said is because they cannot trust this administration. They cannot trust this administration to use those weapons for what they say they want to use those weapons for. So because of that, they have consistently, and don't forget, Nigeria still has issues of human rights abuses to answer to, which is a major reason why the Western Hemisphere said, wait a minute, until you're able to deal with the issues of human rights abuses, we cannot allow you, acquire these weapons. You must find a way. So at the end of the day, the current administration is actually faced with a plethora of problems. And I only hope that in 2021, they would have learnt some lessons from 2020 and come out with a more workable plan as to how to bring the issue of insecurity across Nigeria to the barest minimum. That's
right. I look forward to that. Moving on, we've got The Guardian, and a big story here says, in 2021, we shall tackle, insecurity, economy, corruption. That's coming from Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. That story has riders under it, and let's take a look at them. It says, Atiku blames woes on lazy, uninspiring leadership, talking about Nigerian problems. Former Vice President of the country, Atiku Abubakar, has blamed whatsoever reasons he states in here on uninspiring leadership, okay? Talking about Nigerian leaders who would come out without a solid plan or strategy as to how they would take the nation forward. I perceive that is what the former Vice President of Nigeria is actually suggesting. I've watched an interview where he went on and on, he went on and on specifying that in the past or lately, after he left office, he's been seen a lot, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level, where you have leaders who are aspiring to come out to lead, but they don't have a clear blueprint as to how to get the job done. So that ends up, bringing everything else to a standstill. Furthermore, destroying things further than they actually are supposed to become, like get better, but then it's the reverse you have. So a lot there from the former Vice President.
If I might borrow from something you said a few minutes ago,
yeah,
it's not about identifying the problem, but also preferring a solution or solutions.
That's right.
I agree with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, but the question I ask is, what system, what structure do we have on ground that throws up the best leadership materials available in a country of well over 200 million people? As long as we do not have a system that brings the best minds, the best leadership materials, we will continue to hover around leaders that lack vision, that lack planning, the ability to plan, to strategize, and to implement. So we have a flawed political system that only looks at people who can galvanize public support without necessarily having the technical know-how as to how they can use the instruments of state to deliver the dividends of democracy for the people they have galvanized. So the question I continue to ask is, what are the set structures that our political institutions have put in place to throw up the best leadership materials that this country has to offer? And everybody across the world will tell you that Nigerians are no pushover. We are brilliant people, we're intelligent people, we are capable people. But unfortunately, when it comes to that thing called leadership, especially political leadership, national leadership, we fall short. And that is why our South African brothers continue to hold it against us. That one of the reasons why Africa is still behind is because Nigeria, that should have been at the forefront of liberating Africa and putting Africa on a steady back foot that would allow Africa to compete favorably with the Western Hemisphere, Nigeria has been sleeping. That's why Nigeria is referred to as the sleeping giant. And it has refused to wake up.
We hope it wakes up.
Yeah, it
We
has
hope it
refused
wakes
to.
up
In fact,
from
somebody
year
said it has
2021.
moved from sleep to coma.
Oh no. All right, so still on the story, let's take a look at the writers there. Governors promise different packages to mitigate hardship, and UN calls for global peace and cooperation. Will pass petroleum, other bills to boost economy, and that's coming from Lawan, the Senate President there. Saraki urges all to unite towards finding solutions. Looks as though everyone is tilted towards, okay, enough appropriation of blames. Now let's move on to looking out for solutions. All right, so I think still on The Guardian, we'll take a look at the story underneath there. It says Nigeria, others face bottlenecks as AFTA kicks off today. We did mention that we'll be bringing you updates from the AFTA treaty. So most likely, of course, from the second edition of this year.
It's supposed to be 1 month of campaigning across Nigeria to reorientate, educate, and highly inform not just Nigerians, but Africa. But Nigeria is starting the initiative to ensure that other parts of Africa get on board, and gradually, it's not something that is going to happen overnight. It's a process that has started a while back, but it has gotten to a stage where countries like Nigeria, of course, Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa, and so there is need for Nigeria to put its money where its mouth is. And that is why this month of January is very critical to the AFTA agreement.
We heard that campaigns will begin as from the 1st, most likely, which is why we're seeing this report. But, well, as we promised, we will bring you more updates on the AFTA treaty from our next edition. Okay, so I think that's about what we can take from stories making the front pages of the national dailies. Over to you, John.
All right, at this point, we want to take some excerpts of Mr. President's speech this morning, where he highlighted a number of issues. I think top of the bill is the fact that he has promised young people that across the country that the government will be more proactive in terms of issues relating to young people, particularly the 5 for 5 agenda. It has promised that they will ensure they implement everything that the End SARS protests put forward in the 5 for 5 agenda. And of course, insecurity on the plate and a host of other issues, the economy, the plans for 2021, and of course the hope for the future. So if you will, just sit back with us as we hear President Muhammadu Buhari, the Commander-in-Chief and President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria's 2021 message to Nigerians?
My fellow countrymen and women, first, I would like to thank and praise the Almighty who saw us through the year 2020 and has given us the opportunity to witness the start of another new year. We especially thank God because the year 2020 was one of the most trying years since our existence as a nation. This can also be said about all other nations around the world due to the challenges posed on our collective humanity by the novel COVID-19 pandemic. While acknowledging that 2020 was a very tough year, we saw this year put to test our national resilience and ability to survive these tough times and also give renewed hope that we will again brave any storms that lay ahead in 2021 and beyond. As we celebrate the opportunity before us in the new year 2021, we must also acknowledge the passing away of our brothers and sisters who didn't make it into this new year. May their souls rest in perfect peace. We must remember that we also celebrated the historic occasion of our 60 years as an independent and sovereign country on October 1st, 2020. In the spirit of hope and gratitude, I would like to remind us again that as a country on the difficult journey to nationhood and greatness, we have confounded the many pundits at home and around the world who never gave the newly born country that emerged onto the world stage on the 1st of October 1960 a chance of surviving much longer than a few years. Yet, here we are, 61 years by the next anniversary in October. And not only are we here, we are standing tall in the Committee of Nations as one country, united under the will of God and also actively growing that indivisible Nigerian spirit that has enabled us year after year, decade after decade, to weather all stormy waters and emerge stronger and better where others have fallen and disintegrated. This nation, this Nigeria, will survive and thrive. In this journey to nationhood, we have experienced the highs and the lows. 2020 indeed came with a lot of challenges ranging from security and economic issues across the regions to understandable protests that were mainly led by youth and served notice to the demand for police reforms and accountability. This government heard, this government listened, and this government is committed to fulfilling the 5 demands of our youth, fully understanding that we all wish well for Nigeria. In the midst of all these challenges, I had initially pledged that as your elected president and commander-in-chief, I would ensure that these ongoing challenges will be faced head-on with renewed determination and with all the appropriateness and urgency required. Your voices have been heard, and we will continue to listen to you and all the key stakeholders who are committed to the unity of Nigeria to ensure that every region of this nation is safe for us all, while guaranteeing that the future is also secure for the country.
Right. Thanks for staying with us. That was Mr. President's speech. President Muhammadu Buhari, the Commander-in-Chief, and of course, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Africa's most populous black nation, largest economy, and of course, trying to rekindle hope for well over 200 million Nigerians as far as the year 2021 is concerned. It is still the conversation. Comes to you Monday through Friday, via the signals of TOS TV network, your digital first Pan-African network. Now, a better part of last year, we kept imploring you to become part of our online community, and that hasn't changed as far as 2021 is concerned. But we would like to start by thanking everyone who keep reacting to our streams and uploads. And we appreciate your comments, we appreciate your contributions. And in 2021, we hope to be able to engage you more, to be able to, bring you on board on every edition of the conversation. So, as always, we ask you to follow and like TOS TV network on our social media handles.
That's right. You could always be a part of the show. All you have to do is follow us on social media, TOS TV network, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You could also visit the website www.tostvnetwork.com for more updates.
Right. Now, at the start of the show, we did tell you that there is no better way to start the year than to do a little bit of reflection. And I put it this way, that we have an African proverb that says that for you to know where you're headed, you need to know where you're coming from. Now, the conversation started a couple of months, about 3 months back in 2020. And when we started, we told ourselves we were going to try our best to continue to modify the show and take it to a point where it becomes a daily dose, a must-take pill, every day of the week, Monday through to Friday. So Steph decided to cook up something. She went into production kitchen and decided to cut here, put this.
I like the way you put that.
I added the salt, the pepper. In Africa, we like our pepper, our chili. So, Steph, what did you cook up?
All right, we'll start by looking at some of the very remarkable moments for the country and Africa at large. The year 2020, we do know that NSAS trended. Oh, it did. And SARS was everywhere, coupled with the fact that Nigerians were not satisfied with the judicial panel that was set up months later after the alleged massacre at Lekki Tollgate had happened. Moving on from there, NSAS did had its own impact on the country's economy, talking about Lagos specifically, where the tollgate did lose almost over 700 billion naira, if I'm correct.
Yes, and now they're looking at about ₦1 trillion naira.
That's right, to rebuild. So it did have its own economic impact on the nation as well. Moving on from there, well, our woman, Okonjo-Iweala, made history again in the year 2020, where she was nominated for DG position of the WTO. We're yet to get a conclusion from that matter, although it was one remarkable moment for the country and Africa at large. After that, we saw support from the campaign against GBV like never before. So I'll take you through each and every one of these episodes. We start with the NSAS. Let's take a look at what we had to discuss with our guest in the studio here. Kunle, take a look.
Let's take us to the genesis of this whole protest and where you would see whether it was absolutely necessary or it was not necessary. You had a point. I mean, this was a very historic moment for Nigerian youths. Coming back to now, we have seen people struggle for this same democracy that we are enjoying. Democracy of 1999. How many years of the democratic system are we enjoying at the moment? You don't just take action by sitting down, folding your hands, and you think that those in authority will pay attention to you without you risking one thing or the other. Protests that started online. Because don't forget, this NSAS protest did not just take off on the streets.
True.
The protest started online. What happened when the protest started online? How much concern and attention did the authorities pay to those that were protesting? After some time, it died down. What started online took us to the streets. If the government and the authorities had paid attention when this protest started online, when they realized that no, this situation was not just generating local attention, it was generating international attention, that we needed to take action fast. But what happened? Those in authorities, sorry to use this word, they slept.
Well, that was an intense moment of discussion talking about the NSAS protest that did change the history of Nigeria's democracy. Going into the year 2021, we're very expectant, especially following the president's speech, talking about the 545 demands that, did emerge as a result of the protest and all of that. So, well, let's take you through our next on the list, where we spoke about the impact of that on the Nigerian economy. And of course, our very own Dr. Okonjo-Iweala representing us. Now, we had that discussion with no other but Adakole on this show. So take a look.
Well, Adakole, I know naturally being a Nigerian, when the news broke about Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala having nicked or almost nicked the position of DG, we are all celebrating. Though I said we popped the champagne a little bit too soon. But this reaction from the USA, I mean, the United States has been very skeptical about the World Trade Organization, simply because most countries, not just African countries, but even European countries, have been doing more trade with China. And under the Trump administration, China, as far as their foreign policy is concerned, China seems to be the enemy. So how will that hurt the chances of Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala becoming the next World Trade Organization DG?
We need to balance the trade. I agree most African countries are agrarian and we have primary products where we don't go into refining our products. But at that same time, I think that economists and the world shouldn't be the craze about growth in GDP should be concentrated within their own economies. And these expansionist theories, expansionist tendencies should be reduced. And if it's not reduced, we should find a way to balance what we call moral capitalism. We have more countries supporting us. And I have it on good authority to tell you that what's her name? Somebody Lagarde in the EU, president of the ECB, former IMF. Now she's in the EU.
Yeah.
That ECB, the European Bank, Community Bank, is a childhood friend of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she has those kind of connections to deal with. And when if America tries to veto that, I mean, they will be crowded out by more countries who are in support of Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I think that she will pull through. At the end of the day, the need for African countries to add value to their agricultural produce chain, so that when Madam Ngozi Iweala emerges as DG at the head of the World Trade Organization, yes, we can benefit from it by her policies of equity with regards to exchange of.
That was with Adakole there. And talking about our very own representing us at the WTO, Okonjo-Iweala, we did mention that the aftermath, of course, the results from the US presidential election would have to affect that decision. Previously with President Trump threatening to veto as against who becomes the next WTO chair, DG, beg your pardon. So it's January, and we know that President-elect Joe Biden is set to take over from President Donald Trump, and when electoral college would give the official results from the presidential elections that just went down in the US. So looking at how that would actually have to impact her emerging as the DG of the WTO. Well, what do you think, John?
Well, to be honest, I'm very confident that Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, she has virtually the entire world backing her, and I don't think there's any reason why President-elect Joe Biden would think otherwise. You're talking about a president-elect who already has about 2 or 3 Nigerians in his cabinet. Just yesterday, news broke out that he had also nominated another Nigerian who would be his special advisor on COVID-19. Don't forget, he also has a Nigerian who is he's special advisor on
Security?
in security and defense, which some Americans frowned at. So when you look at it from that perspective, you would see that it favors Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, that she will easily, and let's be candid, she has an intimidating profile. She right now knows what is facing her. Immediately she saddles the seat of the World Trade Organization. It's not just about Africa. Globally, the global economy has been seriously hit as a result of COVID-19. Europe, particularly the UK, Germany, Spain, they are trying to find out ways of how to see how their economies can gradually recover despite being hit by the second wave of COVID-19. Now, don't forget that in the case of the UK, the Brexit deal has come to pass. So there's a whole lot on the table once she gets to work as far as 2021 is concerned. And I have no doubt that she will be able to bring all her resources to bear to ensure that countries across the world get sound professional advice. Of course, the argument of the likes of Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, has been that she lacks experience in the area of trade. But as a financial manager, as an economist,
a two-time minister, by the way.
Yeah, she has proven to be able. I mean, Nigeria is a clear example.
Oh, yes.
As a finance minister under President Olusegun Obasanjo, she was able to get the Paris Club to write off debt that Nigeria had owed for years. You know, under President Goodluck Jonathan, she wasn't just the finance minister, she was the coordinating minister of the economy, which means the president couldn't sign a check without her nod. You know, so it tells you that she has more than expected the experience and the impetus to be able to deliver the kind of quality that the world expects from the World Trade Organization. And for me, most importantly, it was great we had Adakole Jogi, an economist, and the way he segmented the global economy and what the world should expect from Africa moving forward, especially in relation to China and the US, it was absolutely fantastic. And if you look at some of the projections and suggestions that have been made by economists for Africa moving forward, they fall in line with some of the ideas that Adakole shared with us on the show.
That's right there. Another remarkable moment in 2020 was the campaign against gender-based violence. We knew the world went on a lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic, as at the time it was heightened. Not to say that the pandemic is over, but a lot went down during the lockdown and things weren't looking good. Lots of women did face violence and the numbers shot up. So the campaign against GBV was really intense. We had in person here a very, very renowned African and a Pan-Africanist, if I must say, in person of Adora Onyeshere, who did share more light as to what's been done concerning gender-based violence in Africa. Would love for you to take a look.
For Africa, we know on the Western Hemisphere, because of technological advancements and their level of exposure, somehow they managed COVID and the new norm. Even though, yes, in recent times we've seen a spike in the COVID cases as far as Europe, America is concerned. But Africa-wise, especially for the women folk, how's it been post-COVID?
I think I will speak first as the head of the Women and Gender Affairs for the African Union ECOSOC Council, because we've dealt a lot with that in the past 7 months. One of the challenges that we did see was the increase of domestic violence against women and the girl child during the COVID period, especially during the lockdown. It went into a spike of at least 75% in households.
That high?
That high. And, you know, the database also shows us that in the whole world, Africa especially, and interestingly so Nigeria, you look at South Africa of course, of the level of, rape and abuse and harassment, and countries like Tanzania and, Namibia and etc. But it's not as if that these challenges did not exist. But I think what happened was in the closure where people found themselves having to tolerate themselves within a small space or in a long period of time, a lot of the vices came to shore. I mean, people who would normally go to work and come back at the end of the day and say a few words, go to bed and wake up and go out again, had to tolerate being in the same space. And so where you find that someone is not able to put food on the table, the bills escalated, children are not going to school, there was limited space for any form of recreation. That was bound to happen. Can we change how we look at gender identities? Can we change how we build our perception in our language and style of writing so that people can as well endear themselves to the background of the context before even judging the output of the story? And so that's what we're struggling with right now. And it's not just in Nigeria. I think it's in other parts of the world as well. How we define women continuously is what will continue to limit our ending the not just physical abuse but emotional and psychological trauma of those who go through processes.
Well, and there you have it, a very intense campaign against gender-based violence for this year, and I think the theme was prevent, collect, and if I'm correct, yes. Yeah. So we had in person of Adora Onyeshere did give us a breakdown as to what is being done, especially since the coronavirus lockdown occurred, which the numbers were not looking too good. So what are your thoughts, John, going forward?
I was stunned at the stats, the fact that so much abuse against women, so much violence went down during the period of the lockdown, and we're talking of a period of between 6 to 8 months. And the fact that it was born out of sheer cohabitation, pressure from the fact that people were on lockdown, their means of livelihood were shut down, people lost their jobs. So you can imagine the frustration, the anger, you are supposed to be the breadwinner of the family, and yet you can't win the bread. And then internally, you're seeing things that naturally you should be able to solve, but you don't have the means to solve. And unfortunately, you lash out by, physically, mentally, emotionally abusing your partner, who happens to be the female folk. But what is important is the fact that Adora, who is the head of gender and women affairs for the African Union, she's also the head of the Africa We Want 2063 agenda for ECOWAS. And she, between 2013 and 2015, was an ambassador of peace, a mission envoy on peace for the National Orientation Agency. So she's a strong advocate. And as I speak with you in the closing stages of 2020, if you remember right here on the conversation and on TOS Network, we did also have 16 days of activism, all in a bid to highlight the height of gender violence related issues and the need for orientation, reorientation, education, and continuous campaign against gender-based violence. So it's pretty interesting what the turnout of the lockdown was, and we can only hope that the fallouts of those developments will now be tools that we will be able to use, especially at this time where we are in the face of the second wave of COVID-19 and at the start of a new year.
Well, that's right. And well, as we promised, well, we delivered eventually. Those were some of the very, very remarkable moments of the year 2020. At this point, we'd like to say thank you to our dear viewers for sticking with us throughout the year 2020, and we look forward to having a very, very interesting and productive year 2021. As usual, we do implore you to follow us on social media to keep a track of what's going down in the conversation. Of course, to stay updated as to matters relating from across Africa. All you have to do is Follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, you could also visit our website, www.tostvnetwork.com, for more updates.
Well, we did tell you that it was going to be a special show, a special way to start the year, to be precise. And we hope we've been able to take you on our journey from 2020, leading you into 2021. Now, we're going to leave you with this promise that as far as 2021 is concerned, we will always keep our ears to the ground, searchlight beamed across Africa, and do our best to bring you up to speed with all that has happened, when, where, and how, and of course, why. So trust us to be that your one-stop news shop for all the latest updates as far as Africa is concerned. Remember, news by Africans for Africans in the African way. But before we go, I just want to leave you with this quote for the year, something to help you, start the year on a thought-provoking note. Now, in 2020, this is our prayer on The Conversation and on TOS Network, that you find peace. We hope that you find good people, good wine. We do our wine very well here, especially the local brew in Africa. Good food. Africa is known for delicacies, north, east, west, and south. All right? Good place to grow, to plant your feet, and to let go of whatever it was that held you down in 2020. And we hope that the year 2021, you find this, you find what you've lost, and we hope you learn to love yourself again. That's from us. My name is Nkamian John.
Stephanie Odia.
We'll see you on Monday with another fresh edition of The Conversation for 2021.
Happy New Year once again.
When we look at the issue of freedom to lead